Yeah, it's a very tough question, but I will say coldzera, but at the same time, I think Fallen.
Who is the best Brazilian player of all time?
Best Brazilian player of all time, I think I'm going to go with Cold. I think Cold is just like one of the best players of all time with how good that he was in 2015, 16, 17 with SKLG. I think that he was just a phenomenal player and really hard to not say as the #1.
coldzera. I mean, I think that's it would be between him and Fallen, I guess, but I think it would be Cold just because of how good he was in 2016, 2017. I mean, he was #1 player for those 2 years, and the amount of impact he had was absolutely ridiculous. You know, the guy's insane. I mean, I remember just watching him. Like one round specifically that I remember from that, I was like, oh shit, let's go Cold. It was like some 1v3 he had at IM Sydney versing FaZe, and you know, like he's just so fucking solid in the past that he's had. So I mean, he's had a bit of a rough time with FaZe and has with complexity, but Cold's an absolute beast, so he'd be #1 for me.
The best Brazilian player of all time, I would have to say, is coldzera. Just because I think he was #1 for 2 years and he was really consistent. And back then when I was playing the rifle, I remember I was always watching his demos just because he was lurking, he was always in the best positions. So he was just a generally smart player and someone I was looking up to.
Okay, so I'm noticing off the get-go I'm getting it's gonna be some clickbait views here going on with the best Brazilian player. I mean, it has to be coldzera in CSGO. I didn't really watch any versions of Counter-Strike before, so I can't comment on if it was Kogu or something like this, but with my eyes it would be coldzera.
The best Brazilian player of all time is coldzera, even though you can argue that it's Fallen as well. I'll give it to coldzera because of his level earlier in the career. He was outstanding, so it's coldzera for me.
It gotta be Fallen. I think he have done so amazing for such a long time, and I also think that he will make Liquid really good. So it has to be him. I thought a bit about coldzera, but Fallen.
I think it's coldzera because I think he have a great achievement and he clutch like crazy at the pass. I think it's coldzera overall.
If you take achievements, must be coldzera. He was twice the best player in the HLTV ranking. Yeah, it's a very tough question, but I will say coldzera, but at the same time, I think Fallen has achieved a lot, and his skill is as well on a very high ceiling. So, yeah, coldzera and then very close Fallen.
To me, it's probably between only a handful. They haven't had too many like top tier players, I guess. And obvious answer would be coldzera because he has like placed highest and probably also won the most tournaments. But I think a case could definitely be made that Fallen is the best as well. I think actually on this one I'm going to go with Fallen simply because he's like the best player, but he was also the one who kind of brought the Brazilian scene into Counter-Strike in CSGO. Like without him, I don't believe there would have been like a truly successful EliGE or like a Cade Stars or whatever. All those crazy names they had at the beginning. So like in terms of kind of who is the best player, you would maybe say coldzera, but in terms of who impacted the Brazilian scene and the world the most as a player, I would go with Fallen. And to me that's like the more interesting, I guess. It's maybe a bit weirdly worded, but to me the best player is the person who had the most impact, and I think without Fallen there would be probably the debate would be completely different. You wouldn't be picking from top tier players in the same way. You would be picking from lower tier players and seeing who is the best Brazilian player. So for me it's Fallen, he's the most impactful.